Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. My name is Mick, and today I wanted to talk about some things that I've been gaining from my weekly 36-hour fasts. And it's created this environment for me in which I can actually start to tune into myself a little bit, start to take notes on things, start to learn more about who I am and what I'm doing. And these thoughts that I'm going to get into today are unfortunately a result of being fasted for 36 hours. It's unfortunate in the sense that I couldn't have done it naturally, but it is what it is. I'm in the middle of a 36-hour fast right now, but a very interesting thing I've been taught as a result of this fasting is controlling impulses. And controlling these impulses essentially has been something that I've never been able to do. I have been, I guess historically, a little bit of background. My father was military for probably about 25 plus years, and a lot of my upbringing as a young man was what I'll call external motivation from somebody like that. I think he was very hard on me, loved me a lot, but very stern, very hard on me. And I think one thing that I have learned from him is that he could have done a better job in a sense of motivating or getting me to motivate myself versus external motivation versus force. And that has stuck with me in terms of me being able to develop my own discipline and impulse control. And so fasting is a weekly fast is actually kind of a great experience. Being able to essentially say, and I wrote this quote down, I can essentially say during these 36-hour fasts that, quote, I do not negotiate with impulses today. I think there's a lot of power there. I have been thinking a lot about, the other 6 days of the week where these impulses, they're exactly that. They're just impulses. They just, something happens within me and the impulse is to just go grab food, or the impulse is to just binge eat during one of your meals, or, whatever impulse you may have, whether it's nicotine or alcohol or food. The point is that I'm starting to bring a little bit of self-awareness to these impulses, and at least create a little bit of separation between the impulse and the action to go satisfy the impulse. And for so long, I have just let these impulses run me. I mean, for so many years, food has been comfort, numbing, avoidance, just to keep me comfortable. That's what food has been for the longest time. Now, undoing that and completely removing it from the equation is saying okay, even in this one instance, I'm going to remove a single impulse, and there's no negotiating, it's gone. And then once you remove that impulse, you kind of get to see what's underneath it, right? And you could argue that once you start removing these addictions and the impulses, you can actually start to see who is this person underneath these impulses? Because I would like to think that I'm not necessarily defined by my impulses or the decisions that I tend to make. But at the end of the day, you kind of are what you act out in the world, and you are how you choose to present yourself to the world. And really, if you are like me, for the longest time, you are a person that is consumed by impulse, and you are a person that is consumed by your inability to make adjustments, right? I'm not saying fix it or just deal with it or permanently make it better, but at least improve it. And I think that's what I'm trying to do here with this fasting, is say, I'm at least for this 36 hours every single week, I'm in control, where I can say I don't negotiate with impulses today. And it's been really great for me. I feel aside from losing 15 pounds since I've started this fasting journey, now I'm on a process of how do I start to learn how to eat food again? How do I start to prioritize actually how my body feels instead of just eating to numb my mind and then it just numbs my body, versus eating because I want my body to feel good. Like eating because I don't want my stomach to hurt. And when you binge eat an entire bag of Smart Pot popcorn, that's 700 or 800 calories in a sitting, but I am using this as an opportunity to take back control of here's the other thing. I'm using this as an opportunity to take control, because I guess you could argue that I've never actually had control. Maybe when I was younger, but weight loss and kind of reclaiming a little bit of that, the self-control, the ability to be discerning in my food decisions, it has been extraordinarily difficult. And I would be less than honest if I didn't say that the other 6 days of the week, or 5.5, 6 days of the week, I'm still making semi-poor food decisions. But again, this is not like one fast a week is just going to completely change it. But I will say a couple of small changes, food changes that have been made as a result of the fasting have been my fruit consumption. In between meals, I'm reaching for apples and oranges and bananas much more frequently in between meals. So instead of just going for a bag of chips or going for whatever's available in the pantry, it's, can I get the satiation that I need? Not that I want, but can I get that satiation from an apple and an orange? And so far it's been great. I still have to address portion sizing in general, which that has helped, because in general, the way I've had to perceive the fasting has been, so the 36 hours, if you do the rough fraction, I'm having essentially 1/7 the amount of calories in a week less than I have been. And I think a lot of this weight loss originally has just been because I like to do a lot of like my food calculations and workout calculations like on a weekly basis. It's a little bit easier to push it out that far. I'm having 1/7 less calories per week, and I think my body has already adjusted 20-ish pounds down already from that. But it's still a matter of like, can I clean this up in terms of how I do that? So portion sizing, I can, for the most part, the key here is being able to tune in and recognize my own hunger and satiation signals, which is huge. The portion sizing aspect is like, okay, in the beginning, just put smaller amounts of food on your plate initially. Like that's a great start. Finish that, but then have a moment, like a brief moment of awareness where you can say like, am I satiated after having like a reasonable amount of food in this sitting? Like, am I satiated? Is it something maybe like a 7-ounce, 8-ounce glass of water could fix? Where do I sit now that I've actually had food in my stomach? And most of the time, what you'll find out, at least in my experience, has been everything post-food is emotional, or everything pre-food and post-food is emotional in that sense for me. And I have to be really discerning when I start to evaluate these emotions in the sense of like, am I making decisions emotionally? Like, am I allowing my mind and my heart to be at odds, where it's like, I am super uncomfortable because maybe I'm dealing with like a stressful emotion right now, and like I'm probably more inclined to eat food in that regard. So I need to make sure that when and around food sessions, I am far more aware of my emotional state prior, during, and post all eating sessions. Because for me, getting food consumption under control is probably the number one priority in terms of getting my entire life together. Because I love working out. I love exercising. I love running. I love lifting weights. I love that stuff. It's a lot of fun. But this is the part that I've never truly had under control. So, I find myself recognizing, at least during my fasting periods. So like in the 36-hour fast, I have a full day of non-eating. So I start Sunday evening after dinner. And then I have all Monday fasted. and then I eat again for the first time Tuesday morning. So what I have on Monday is I have three main eating sessions. So we have breakfast with the family, or whatever we have in the morning, which is super easy to get past. I have my coffee. I can get past breakfast, no problem. Lunch is also pretty easy. I'm usually having like a second coffee just to get me through, just keeping me awake. A little bit more water. But dinner is actually where I run into most issues, I would say. Because we usually sit down as a family for dinner and the whole family's eating in front of me. And this is where I start to notice a little bit of chatter in the back of my head where it's like, hey, should I break my fast right now? Should I just say, oh, that's, 24 hours is good. Should I just end it here? A lot of these like sneaky, emotional, unconscious things start sneaking into your mind. And this is where you've got to be on guard. You've got to be hyper aware of these things popping up because they influence you. And whether or not you think they're influencing you, they are influencing you. And when you're coming from a place from where I have been, it's the most important thing. So if you can stand guard at those times and at least be aware and start recognizing like, okay, that thought is here because I'm stressed out and like I want to eat and I want the food to numb me out and I want it to make me feel better. And the fasts have been, at a bare minimum, the fasts have been fantastic for isolating these emotional surgences during meal times, right? They like most of the time throughout the day, I'm chilling. I'm hanging out, I'm chilling, have no issues. But around mealtime or when I'm usually consuming food or calories, I get this wave of emotions and things sneaking into my mind that I don't actually believe, and I just can't be so unconscious to them and just let those impulses control me anymore. So I would say this is a process of learning to be able to trust myself again, to recognize who's actually in charge, like what part of me is actually in charge of this process. What are my long-term goals? And do I have the awareness available to me to be able to do that? And if I could sum this video up, I would say that awareness around food consumption, and I'm saying awareness in like a general sense, but also a very specific sense. So like general in a sense of like, okay, I'm eating food here, but in a very specific sense, having like the awareness of like, okay, I can feel my fingers, right? Like I'm mentally cognizant of my ability to like feel my own fingertips. Like I can put my awareness there. It's that same awareness that you can actually move and scan throughout your body. And it's that awareness that you have to tune into during these meal times, during the food consumption, and during the times when your emotions come up, where you've got to move that awareness and you've got to shine a spotlight on the stressors, on the thoughts that come up. Shine a spotlight on it and like really bring some awareness to that thing and highlight it and say, who or what or why are these coming up? Are these emotions valid? Am I actually afraid, or am I scared? Am I going to lose something here? Or is this just the ego trying to reclaim some sort of control in this process? And if I can sum up all of this fasting process, the fast gives me access to an unfiltered 36 hours of zero impulses controlling you. And you can view this as, I do not negotiate with terrorists, or I do not negotiate with the impulses today. When you do that, you gain access to, at a bare minimum, like it'd be perfect to be able to say that I have 24/7 access availability to that level of awareness. But let's try to be realistic here. Like a lot of these people, myself included, can't maintain that level of awareness all the time, at least not yet. And these 36 hours, they have given me access to that awareness, like genuinely, where I can say there's nothing, there's no consumption, There's no impediment between me and genuine clarity of thought and mind and heart, and to where I can say, like, is this food necessary? Is this food good? And in the sake of this 36 hours of fasting, are these emotions real? Are these emotions true? Are they misleading me? How am I being affected by these? How am I being affected by these thoughts or these ideas or these emotions during my normal eating periods throughout the rest of the week? And I think having this as a practice, whether or not it's 36 hours or 24 hours, having this as a practice to actually go into mealtime and be hungry and like really put yourself under some stress to say, like, I'm fasted, I'm hungry, I'm uncomfortable, and then using that mental clarity that you have to analyze everything, man, it's a blessing to be able to have access to that kind of clarity even for 36 hours. So my suggestion to you is try it out. You know, I had done intermittent fasting, but I realized very quickly that I could lie my way through the intermittent fast, right? You know, the 16 hours, you know, you don't eat breakfast, you don't eat lunch, you maybe have, you know, a late lunch. I was able to lie my way through that process. And I realized very quickly that I needed extended times of fasted state to where I couldn't lie to myself, where things became more clear, everything was lined up perfectly, and that I could start to really break down and really truly be fasted for extended periods of time and get the benefit of the mental clarity. So that's my challenge. Start where you can, start where you are, but try to reclaim a little bit of this discernment, the clarity, and the ability to have the awareness of your emotions and how they can affect your time around food. So that's all I've got for you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.